So first, let's revisit what we have discussed in the last class. Let me write here. First, we have seen about PostgreSQL. Okay, we have seen what is PostgreSQL, what are the features of PostgreSQL. Okay, then we have seen how to download and install PostgreSQL in our system. Then we have seen there's a two way to connect PostgreSQL. Okay, to connect PostgreSQL. Okay, first way is using SQL cell. Okay, or command line interface. Okay, and the second way which why we can connect to our PostgreSQL database management system, PG admin. Okay, I used PG admin 4 version 4. Okay, which is our graphical user interface. Then we have seen how we can create, database, how we can select or connect to a particular database, or how we can delete an existing database from our system. Okay, all these things we have discussed. How we can create a database using what command? Create database followed by database name. Okay, okay. And how we can connect to a particular database? \c database name. Okay, how we can list the database, available database, control \l. Okay, then we have seen how we can create table in our database. So first we have to connect to the database in which we are going to create table. So the command is to create a table is create table followed by table name, then description of the your column name. Okay, columns with their domain. Okay, and constraints what you want to impose on your table. Okay, so using these command we can create a table. Okay, how we can delete a table using drop table command. Okay, we just simply write the drop table and table name, which table you want to delete. Okay, in the same way you can delete the database with the same command drop table name, sorry, database name. Okay, drop database and the database which you want to delete. And how we can describe the table means, describe the table means what are the tables available in the particular database, which is \d. When you write \d, it will describe, means it will show you how many tables are in the database. Okay. Then we have seen how we can insert record into a table. How we can insert a record to insert a record the first way, record one by one. So the command is insert into table name, values, and ask the values of the record separated by comma. Okay, here you will write the record values. Okay, the second way, if you want to change the order of column, so you will write insert into table name, then you will write the changed order in which you want to enter the record. Okay, then pass the values in that order. Okay, if you want to insert more than one record at a time, so the command is insert into table name, and values, and first value, then separated by comma, and pass the second record and third record, and so on, like this. Okay, in this way you can insert multiple record at a time. Okay, all this point we have discussed in the last class. Is it clear? And all this point we have also discussed using pgadmin or or graphical user interface of this Postgres database management system. Okay. If you have any doubt in this point, you can ask. Do you have any doubt? So in today's class, we will see how we can set constraints in our table. Okay. So the constraints are primary key constraints, not null constraint, or you can set the by default values, not null, check, foreign key constraints. These kind of constraint how we can set in a table. Okay, we will see in this class, and next we will see how we can import data from an Excel file or any other file in which we have already recorded our data. Okay. So let's go back. So let's create one database. First delete this database. Okay, stable, we cannot delete this one. I'm creating a database, my company. How you can create? Just simply right click on your the word database and mention the database name and save it. So it will create you for your new database. The name is my company. So now you can see my company data has been created, and how we can connect with this database. Just simply click on that database. So my company database, I want to create a table. The table you can see here, and just right click, create table. Okay. Or the other way, what the command you are writing in SQL. So that command you can also write in your this graphical user interface. Just click on the table and query tool. Using query tool, you can also create tables. Okay, create tables means using writing the command. Okay, so I'm creating one table using command. So what is the command for creating table? Create table name. Suppose I am creating a table employee. So just writing im and enter the column description and sorry, ID of the employee, and the domain of this ID is integer. And also you can write some constraints like ID I want to set or imposed a constraint like not null, means you have to enter always the value of ID. Okay, for the next column is name and domain is text, and department ID in which the employee is working. The domain is integer, and you can set the salary of the employee, which is real. So using this kind of command, you can create a table. Just simplify this query, and now you can see a table created EMP. Okay, and these are the columns of this table. Okay, so what you are writing in SQL cell, you can also write in this PG admin. Okay, so just at which place you want to write a query, just simply on that tab right click, and you can see in the last query tool. Using this query tool, you can write the queries for the particular task what you want to perform. Okay, here I just create a table using query tool. Okay. Now let's drop this table simply. Oh, okay, or even you can drop the table with the same query tool. Just write query tool, or you can drop a table, drop table and table name. Which table I want to drop? EMP. So let's just try drop table EMP. Now you can see you delete the table, just refresh it, and now you can see the table has been deleted. Okay. So let's again create a table using our PG admin create table. Now in this way we'll creating a table. The name is table is EMP. Okay. Now let's create few columns of this table. The first column is ID, type is integer, and now I'm setting here not null, and the key of this table is setting ID is the key. So just click on that tab and we done yes. Next column, add the name of the employee, and domain of this name is text. New column is department ID in which the employee is working, which is ID, sorry, integer, the salary of the employee, sal, and the salary type is just consider real, and even you can add one more column, reports to. Reports to means this particular employee report to which employee, means who is the boss of this employee. Okay, and which reports to you are mentioning uh, the ID of the manager or the report of the person who is the employee is reporting. Okay, here I'm just mentioning in this column reports to the ID of the employee this person is reporting. Okay, so I just created one table with these 5 columns. Okay, now save it. So now you can see we have created one table EMP with this number of columns. Okay, now let's set few constraints in this table employee. It is visible to all of you now. My screen is visible to all of you with proper the text, or should I zoom it? Okay. So just simply set the constraint. Click on the table for which you are setting the constraints. EMP is the table. Click and go to the properties. In properties, you can see there's a few tab is there: general, columns, advanced, constraints, parameters, security, and SQL. Okay. So to set the constraints, click on the constraint tab. In the constraint tab, you can see the first constraint you have set, EMP primary key, which is ID. Now I want to create foreign key of this table. So before I create a foreign key, can you tell me what is a foreign key? Please unmute your mic and speak. What is a foreign key? Please, if you know the foreign key or definition of foreign key, please tell me. Okay. If okay, nobody is replying, so let's me write what is foreign key. Just consider this is your employee table. The first table is employee table, and second table is just consider a department table. Just consider first table is employee table. In employee table, there is only few. Just for you, just mentioning ID, name, and department ID in which the person is working. And in department table, there is in the column ID of the department, name of the department, and location of the department. Just consider just mentioning only three columns for both the tables. Okay. Here in employee table, there is a record of the employees. In department table, there is a record of tables. Sorry, departments. Okay, in here you can see department ID. It's showing the particular person or employee is working in which department. Here, just consider the first record. It said this employee number first is working in department number 2. Okay, so here just mention this employee is working in department number 2. What is the detail of the department number 2? Where is the detail of where is the detail of this department number 2? What is the name of department, where is located, or what are the other information is available in other department? So we'll just set a relationship between these two table or redirecting, where you mention department number 2 and the detail of this department number 2 is present in this department table. Here 1 2 3 4 5, there is a mention of department. Okay, so you can easily get this employee is working in department number 2 and the detail of department number 2 is present in this table. Okay, suppose this employee is working in department number 4. Where is the detail of this department number 4? Which is here. Okay, so we are connecting this table using a foreign key concept. Okay, so this department ID here, this department ID is a foreign key. This department ID is a foreign key, and which is referencing department foreign key of this employee table is department ID, and which is referencing which table? Department table. So just write department. In department table, which column? There is three column: ID, name, and location. So which column it is referencing? ID. It's we are mentioning only ID. So just write ID. Okay. So this is a foreign key concept. In the foreign key concept, we are connecting or establishing the relationship between table. Okay. Is it clear? Okay. So this is the key point about the foreign key. Okay. Is it clear to all of you? What is the meaning of foreign key? Okay. So let's go back to our PG admin. Now, 1 minute. 1 minute. Let me pause it. 1 minute. Okay. So now I want to set foreign key for this employee table. Okay. Now I want to set the department ID is foreign key and it is relating to department table. But right now we do not have a department table. So let's create first a department table. Okay. So just cancel it and create one more table, department. Simple. Create table name which is department. Okay. And set the columns of department table. First column is department ID. Domain of this ID is integer, and this is not null. You can set no, and it's a key of the table. You can set here. Okay, we will create a key from some other way. You just leave it as no, and the name of the department, and what is the domain of the name? Which is text, and you can set location of the department where it is located, and again it is text. For you, okay, so we have just created one table department with this three column only. Okay, just save it. Now you can see one more table has been created department with this number of columns, three. Okay. Now set foreign key. Okay. So select the employee, right click on the employee table name, go to property, and now go to constraints. We are setting the constraints. The foreign key, because the foreign key is one kind of constraints. So you can see the foreign key tab here under the constraint. Okay. Click on foreign key and click on this plus symbol. Okay. Click. Let me use magnifier. So here you can see this plus tab. So click on this plus. Okay. Click on this plus, and now you can see here. Okay. It is here asking me the name. Okay. So first click on column and ID, or which column you want to set a foreign key in this table. In this table employee, we have 5 columns: ID, name, department ID, salary, and reports to. Which column you want to set a foreign key? Department ID. So click on department ID, and now it is asking me references. Which table you are referencing for department ID foreign key. Okay. So here referencing. So it will show you the table, available tables. Here we have two tables, department and employee itself. Okay. So we are referring department table. Okay. So click on department. In department table, which column? In department, there is a 3 column: ID of the department, name of the department, location of the department. So which column we are setting as a referencing column of this table? ID. So click on ID. Okay. Is it clear? Now you can set 1 minute. Please spell the column for foreign key. List. Okay. Now it's showing me ID is the foreign key and the referenced is a department. Okay. Save it. There is no unique constraint matching given. Okay, it is showing me error because you are referring department ID is the uh, attribute which we are referencing, but that attribute is not a key of that table. Always when you refer to a particular column of the table, that column must be key of that table. Okay, here just once again, here I am referring ID of the department table, and ID must be a key of this table. Means always it must be unique. When you are referring a department number 2, where always in this table only one record should be the same. Means there is no two record having the same value. Means there is no two department having the department ID is 2. Okay, so always it must be unique. So it is saying please refer the column which is key of that attribute, key of that table. Here department table ID must be set as a key. So let's go back to the department table and set ID as a key. So go to constraints, add primary key, and here the primary key of table department. 1 minute. 1 minute. Department column name which is right. Using this way you can connect ID is 7. Some other way you can set as, yeah, we'll see it later. It is saying 2 department are present. Let me check. Doubles department. Okay, this is error occurring because we have one more table company. In this company table, there is a table department. Okay, let me first delete that table. The company, there is a schema and then the schema tables. There is no table department. So why I just deleting the table. Okay, now it's set the key of the table. Let's go back to our employee table, properties, constraints, foreign key constraints, add constraints, edit, column, ID. The local referring table is department. The department, the ID is the attribute which we are referring. Click on plus. Now you can save it. Now it has been done. Okay. So again, let's check it is created or not. Go to properties, see the constraints, go to the foreign constraint. Now you can see the employee ID is a foreign key which is referring, this ID is referring to this ID of the department table. Okay. Is it clear to all of you how we can set foreign key for a table? Okay, so let's create one more foreign key for the table. Let's create one more foreign key of the table. As you can see here in employee table, there is a 5 column. ID, name, department ID, salary, and reports. Reports 2 is also a foreign key. let's see here. Let's create one more. And it is a reports to column. In this employee table, there is one more column reports to, as you have created in that PGAdmin. Okay, so this reports to column says that this person is reports to which employee. Okay, so again there is a mention in the ID of the employee which the employee is reporting. Suppose the ID of the employee is 1, name is Rahul, and department is working 2, and reports to the employee ID number 3 person. Means here this person employee number Rahul is reporting to the employee whose ID is 3. Okay, so now where is the detail of this 3? Where is the detail of this employee ID 3, which is available in this column? Okay, so you have to set the foreign key reports to, which is referencing the self table, means itself it is reporting to employee table, and the employee table ID is the referring attribute of that table. Here again I'm just repeating. In this table, reports to is one more key, foreign key of the table, which referring to the same table, employee table. In this employee table, the employee ID is the attribute which that this reports to is referring. Okay, so let's create one more foreign key for this table. How we can create the foreign key? Just click on that table, go to properties, constraints. Under this constraint, the foreign key constraints, click on plus, means 8 foreign keys. Okay, now go to column. Which column you want to create the key? Reports to is a foreign key, and it's referencing, it is referencing this table is itself, the employee itself. So set the employee table, and in this table which column which column we are referring? ID, name, department ID, salary, or reports to? We are referring ID. Click on ID plus 8, and now you can click on save. So it is created. Then one more foreign key for the table. Let's see it is created or not. Go to constraints, foreign key, and now you can see there is a 2 foreign key of this table. There is a 2 foreign key. First, which we have created for employee ID, foreign key is referring ID of this table to ID of the department table. Now the second foreign key which we have just recently created, employee table reports to foreign key, reports to is a foreign key, and it's reports to referring to ID of the employee table. Okay, so in this way we have created 2 foreign key for the employee table. Is it clear to all of you how we can create a foreign key? Okay, is it clear? Please write in chat if it is clear how we can set foreign key for the table. Okay, so if it is clear how we can set the foreign key, let's let's see the next topic. How we have seen how to insert the record into a table using the which command? Insert into. Okay, means one by one we can enter the record into our table. Okay, what it is too lengthy process when we have thousands of record or millions of record. How we can enter each record by writing the insert into table name, value, something like this. Okay, so but so what is the solution? How we can import? How we can insert the record in table using import or export? Import the data from the other files like Excel. Generally, we store our data into our Excel file. Okay. So how we can import the data from the Excel file. Okay. So let's see. 1 minute. I have one record here. Just see project. Okay, just consider I have data in my Excel file. Okay, here it is the record of projects. In the this table, the project's ID, project's name, which department handling that project, and what is the budget of that project. Okay, so this record available in my Excel file. Or we can import this data into our Postgres table. Okay, so first, when you import the data into our Postgres, first change the format, means Excel format to CSV format. CSV is comma separated values. So first convert your Excel file into CSV format. So here it is in CSV format, so I do not need to change. If your data in Excel, first convert it into CSV. If your data in Excel's if your data in Excel, you have to convert first into CSV format, which is comma separated values. Okay. If you open this file into tab, you can see like this. Each values is separated by comma. Two separated by this name by comma and okay. So each values in this file is separated by comma. So that's why we calling this file is comma separated values. Okay. So let's import. Before we import the table, let's see what is the structure of this table, this data. First, here it is ID of the project, name of the project, department which handling this project, and budget. Means in this there is a 4 column. Okay, and see the domain of each column. Here the column domain of this column is integer. Here it is text. Here again it is integer, and here is integer or real. Whatever you can assign. Okay. So before we import the data into our Postgres, first create a table as the same structure as your table in which your data is present. So create table. What is the table name? Just see, just write the project table you want to create. Okay, and add the columns. The first column is ID, which is integer. Set, you can set as not null, or you can even set as a primary key as well. Okay. The next column is the name of the project, which is text. Add one more column. It is department ID, which is handling this project, which is again integer. And one more column is budget of the project, and it is real. Okay, so we have created one table project with these columns. Okay, save it. So see the table project with this number of columns, 4 columns, and see the order of the columns: ID, name, department ID, budget, and see the data in your table. Always the order in which you created and the order in your file should be same. Okay. So how we can import? First import the data using command. Okay. So the command is select the table in which you are importing. Sorry, query tools. Okay. So the command to import the data into a table is copy, then your table name in which you are importing the data. Which table you are importing? Project table. So just write the table name, project, then write from and path where your file is located. Okay. What is the path of this project? Project CSV. So copy this path here and thereafter just write with CSV header. Means here as you can see in your table there is a header. Okay. So this header it will just remove because otherwise it will consider is the first record of the table. Okay. So just write after this with CSV header and click run. Project does not exist is showing me. Again, it is showing me the same error. Why? Project is on already mentioned. Project does not exist. Why? Project does not exist. Project is yes. Okay, let's see some other way. Then we will find. If it is not, then we will see. Some other way is click on the table name, import, export tab. You can see import, export. Just you are importing. So click on this export. It will turn as import and set the path from where you are accessing. Okay. The CSV file and click on header, which is CSV header you are including, and delimiter is from which it is separating by comma. Okay. Click on save, and now this I think that data has been copied. So how we can see now you can see the data what the data is in the Excel you have imported successfully. Okay. I'm just repeating how you are importing the data from the Excel. Click on the table in which you are importing the data. Here it is project. Here you can see the import export option. Click on import export. Here click on export. It will turn as import. Set the path from which where you are copying the data. Here it is project.csv which is present in this DBMS table, DBMS folder for what is the path you. Okay. And format is CSV and click on header. Yes, because in this table you can see there is a header in the table. Okay. And delimiter is comma. So this CSV file, the delimiter is comma, means each value is separated by comma, and click on OK. Then it will import the data into your table. Okay. Here it is all the data I am importing from the Excel format. Okay. Is it clear? So what are the important concept we use in PostgreSQL? I have I think most of the concept I've been covered. So please practice all this. How we can create or delete or insert record or import record, set the constraints, all the concept. Practice all this concept in your Postgres SQL. Okay, please download, install, and please play with this tool. Okay, and you will explore. There are many tools I have not covered yet. Okay, so now you can write the attendance in chat. किसी को कोई डाउट है तो आप लोग पूछ सकते हैं, बाकी ये आप जो आगे है वो आप लोगों को भी